Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Attract and Standout Podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley. And around here, we're all about helping heart-centered entrepreneurs and executive leaders speak up, stand out, and make the big impact they're trying to make in the world. So they have, with clear communication and showing up with the clarity they know that the world needs. And I am super excited for today's guest. I have with me Leslie Grossman. She is a trailblazer in leadership, gender equality, and women's empowerment, an accomplished executive coach, dynamic keynote speaker, and highly regarded researcher. Leslie transforms executives and entrepreneurs alike with her insights and actionable strategies for success. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Darlene. I'm very excited to be here chatting with you.
Yes, me too. I know we've already had a fun little conversation before we even hit record. And I was just telling Leslie, I was like, we should probably hit record because I think people want to hear what we're talking about. But before we dive too far in and we start getting into the conversation, I would love for you just to share a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you came into the work that you're doing today.
Okay, happy to. Well, first, I'll just give you my basics. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom of 4 grandchildren, and I've had a career mostly as an entrepreneur since I was 24 years old.
Awesome.
And that's a very basic thing. Today, after running a PR agency, and a lot of other things in between, all related, I started living my vision when a tragedy happened, actually, 9/11. Now, some of your listeners remember it, some that are young may not, but at 9/11, I was running a PR firm in New York City and went into shock when this thing happened. 2 planes hit the World Trade Center. Another one went down in Washington, D.C., and another one near Pittsburgh. In New York City, because of this tragedy, everything stopped. I was in my office with my employees, public relations firm, 12 people, when this happened. The whole city stopped. No business was done for 6 months. I was working with an executive coach myself at that time who was helping me, coaching me through growing my business. But at that time, we were just like so in shock. I don't even know what other word to say.
Yeah.
It took time in my coaching, which I was committed to, and it helped me get through this period to look at what my personal vision was. And through that discovery, through that process, I realized that my business was not actually fulfilling my vision, even though I enjoyed it and I was successful at it. But my vision really was led by my experience in the nonprofit world. I was very involved with the National Association of Women Business Owners, NAWBO, was president back. And I realized through my vision that that was what lit me up. I wanted to make a difference, help women grow multi-million-dollar businesses. I wrote it as an affirmation, and I looked at it every night as we were recovering from this tragedy. And one night I realized that there was something going on that I could do, that I actually had the contacts to do. And not to help women one by one, but I had a client and it was a major credit card firm, and they wanted to reach women business owners. So I had this idea I could do conferences to help women grow their businesses, and perhaps my client would support it financially. Magically, after I did my research and put a proposal together, which actually took me months, brought it to them, they said yes.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, amazing.
And when I had that vision and I started developing it, I knew inside there was something that told me, I was so confident, they are going to say yes to this. And they did. The first year, we did 5 conferences around the country: California, where you are, New York, Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta. And we got 500 in some cities, more in others, because there was nothing like this going on at that time, and women knew they needed it. So that got me on the track for the business that I do now, which is executive coaching and doing all kinds of things to support not only entrepreneurs, but also women executives. So that really was the start of everything. And to me now, because of that, I realize that having a vision is so important for women, that we don't have to just go down a career path waiting for what opportunity follows us, but we need to do the work to develop that vision. And then we need to do something else, which is what enabled me to get the attendance that I did at those conferences. We need to have a circle of collaboration, people, especially other women around us, who can help us get to that vision.
Yes.
And it worked for me then. And I've now been using that philosophy and that strategy to help other women do it. Both my clients as well as the programs that I do. And I bring it to them and they support each other in those programs to get to that vision.
Yeah, I love that. I thank you for sharing kind of how you had that pivotal moment. I know for myself, I went through a traumatic experience that led me to leaving corporate retail management and jumping into starting my own business. And I know I hear that a lot. I feel like we go through big life changes, whether it's losing somebody or a major moment, whether it's, like 9/11, or even a lot of people pivoted during the pandemic because life as we knew it altered in such a big way. I'm curious, like when you think about those big events in your life and maybe even some of your clients' life that you've helped, catapult into new things too, like what were some of the things that helped you be brave and take those steps in those moments?
Yeah, what helped me be brave was really community was one of them. And having people that I could talk to about my feelings and about the possibilities and just listening, really listening to people and hearing other people's stories, being curious about them
Yeah.
and asking about them. What were their experiences? What did they go through? How did they get to where they are? What challenges did they have? The more I heard other people's stories about their challenges, I realized that I could turn this challenge into an opportunity too. And it gave me the confidence to do it because others were doing it. But so often we don't have those conversations and hear about it. We don't ask. We kind of, what I call the old networking, where you just kind of find out, what do you do? What do you do? Oh, here's what I do. But they don't ask. We're not as curious as we could be about each other.
Mm. I always joke that my mom always told me that I was nosy, and I've learned as I've matured in life that I'm just curious. I'm a curious person.
Yes.
And so I love to dig deep, and I love to ask questions, and I love to like get my hands dirty and see what, people have going on and like really get into the nitty-gritty pieces of it. So I love that you bring that curiosity piece into it, because I think you're right. We don't get curious enough. We can be so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we just kind of go through the flow of life. Like it always makes me think of like when you go to the grocery store and the cashier is like, "Oh, how's your day?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm good. Things are great. Thanks for asking." And really we're like, "No, like life is falling apart. Things are happening. This thing just happened. I'm exhausted." Like like we don't tell people though what
Right.
we're really feeling and what we're really experiencing. And so even with our best friends and, family members, we just kind of keep it surface level. Like people think like, "Oh, your life's together. You have, things are perfect over in your world, or we make it look perfect." And then on the inside, we have this big vision, this big passion. We want to make an impact. We want to make a change in the community. And especially as women, we know that the more impact as women is that, like when we get involved in the community and we put the dollars into the community, like big things happen and big things happen quickly.
That's
Yet so many women hold it back.
That's right. But here's what, and that is so true. Everything you said is absolutely true. We hold that perfection thing, right? That we have to look perfect all the time. And that's one of the things that we have to give up. And on the other side, We don't want to talk about ourselves, but then we need the other person, like you and I did, to ask the question, what's really going on? Hey, tell me what's happening in your life right now. I really want to hear. I mean, we have to invite people to give us the whole thing about what's going in. We need to be the ones to take it out of that old-fashioned networking of what do you do or how are you and go deeper. And then we have to listen. The other thing that people don't do so well is listen, ask the questions, and then really listen. And then it's when we listen that we find the connection that we have, the true life connection we have with each other. And when we make that connection, then we can share our side of the story too, right?
Yeah.
And that's when the energy builds and we've got a trusted circle around us of people.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit more about that? Because I think I've had my own business for this August will be 19 years that I've been a business coach, leadership development coach. And I remember early in my career, I was what I call myself, I call my when I think back, I'm like, I was a social butterfly. Everybody knew who Darlene was, but nobody really knew what I did. Like I was great at connecting people and like they knew me, but they didn't really know me in those moments. I wanted to like I was too surface level, is what I guess I would say in those
Yeah.
moments. How do and I've learned through the years that I had to go deeper. I had to grow roots in those conversations and I had to really get to know people. And instead of knowing 50 people, I needed to know like two or three people at the event and really like make those
Yes.
connections. What are some tips that you would give to somebody, whether they're an executive looking to like move their way up inside of an organization, or if they're an entrepreneur growing their business? Like how do we best find a way to grow deep connection and really truly nurture that relationship to continue it outside of like, I like who you are and we had a great conversation, but we don't really always take it to the next place.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is we have to be the ones to initiate, right? We have to take it. And just like you said, you go to a networking event, don't try to meet as many people as you can. Two or three, if you make two or three connections that are quality, that's amazing. If you make one, that's great too. And I think it is by going in there and really asking, go be prepared with the questions you want to ask somebody. Tell me about you, not just what you do, but how did you end up doing that, And really ask deeper questions and listen, or at least enough that you can then say, hey, we have something in common here. Can we take this offline, meet for coffee, or let's do a Zoom together? Or, we find that one thing and then take it. And, not everybody's going to take us up on that offer. And if they don't, that's okay. We want to find the people that want to take us up on that offer because they're somebody that wants to have that deeper connection as well. So, we have to do that. And we can also arrange to bring people together over lunch. I mean, we need to say, this is my life. How do I make my life great? I need to have a couple of circles. Maybe that's what I call, a circle of collaboration. Look at different areas of your life. Maybe it's your PTA, the women that you meet in the PTA, or the women that you meet uh, at any community group that you're a part of, a not for profit. Where are you? It could be your spiritual community. Where are these the people you work with, or your clients? Bring your clients together, maybe.
Mhm.
It's always looking for these very circles that maybe they're not circles yet, but they could be circles of people around you and around each other. And then from those circles, there will be one or two people that will end up being in your inner circle.
Mhm.
You will trust the most, that you can really have those deep conversations with, and will help guide each other, and make connections for whatever your business is, moving up in the world. If you're an entrepreneur, who's going to introduce you to your next client? Who you can share all that with. So I kind of see it as revolving circles are like the planets, and you're the sun. You
Yeah.
are the sun, Darlene, in your own solar system. And you have all these planets revolving around you. So that is kind of how I picture it. And I think if we all can go there, and make relationships. And not everybody's going to, and don't feel disappointed. Not everyone is going to be part of your inner circle. That's okay.
Yeah.
But
It,
they are potential members.
yeah. It's while you were talking about that, I was just kind of envisioning the circles of friendships that I have currently in my life, but then I also think about like different seasons of life because, I've moved from Las Vegas, Nevada to California 10 years ago, and my circle obviously changed a lot. And I was just looking through some pictures the other day and I found some pictures from my friends, like some close friends, right when I had moved from Las Vegas to here. And I really miss those friendships. And we still, connect occasionally and we say hi. And it's not the same as it used to be, but I still hold that relationship so near and dear. And if they were to call me tomorrow, like we could probably step right back into as if 10 years of hanging out hasn't happened. Like we would be right back to that beginning place. And then when I think about the people that I networked with when I lived even in Las Vegas, I built my business on the ground. The first half of my business was 100% all my customers and my clients came from Las Vegas, all my referral partners and my networking and like the associations that I was a part of, like all of those things were deeply rooted connections at that point. And then when I moved to California, my world was kind of flipped upside down because I had a 6-month-old, a 3-year-old, a 9-year-old, and just graduated height 18-year-old who chose to stay in Las Vegas at that point. And I had to reinvent like how I was going to run my business. And thank goodness I figured out the online world before I even needed to, before the pandemic had even happened. Like I transitioned my business mostly virtual at that point. But those relationships and those circles and those connections are so a part of me, even still to this day.
Yes.
Um,
And what I was going to say to you, Darlene, and is like that we can go back to those connections that we had in another place, depending upon what we're doing, and reignite them. Because if we want to, if there's somebody, and a lot of times we don't do that. And I talk to my clients about it when they're going toward a certain vision. I said, well, who have you not talked to that could be a conduit or could, connect you with people that you haven't spoken to in 10 years? You can still go back to them and they would be thrilled. I actually have a conversation scheduled for next week with a woman who was my client when I had my PR firm, which is now over 20 years ago.
mm,
And I found her on LinkedIn and we had, over the course of a year, and I reached out to her and said, I'd love to hear what you're up to now. And she immediately answered me and said, that would be great. And I know there are probably ways that we could support each other now, but 20 years have gone by. And so we should never feel that it's over because time has passed.
exactly. I 100% agree. One of the first things I have in my one-to-one 6-month coaching program, one of the first things we do after we get really clear on like their message is like, how are we going to who are the people that already know, like, and trust you and love you to pieces that want to help support you? And they might not be your customer or your client, but they might know somebody or they can refer somebody or they could just kind of keep you noodled in the back of the mind where they're like, oh, Darlene's doing this new thing or Leslie's up to this. This is her new adventure. Like, and I have them make a list of 100 friends that they haven't, maybe people they've talked to recently, but also like go back, like who's that coworker that you were best friends with when you worked together that you've maybe lost some touch because you've been in different organizations and your lives have kind of separated. Or a lot of my friends now are people that my kids know. Like I'm friends with parents of my kids' friends because our circles, like when I moved to California, I joined a play group and I luckily, not knowing anybody here, was able to make some really great friends because of my kids. And those are like deep relationships that I have locally. And some of them are, have businesses and some of them are in careers and some of them are stay-at-home moms. And we all do different things, but we've been able to support each other and help in so many different ways when it comes to, growing ourselves. I know you've got a couple of books that talk about this really in depth, and I want to make sure you tell us the name of those books because I think people need to read them. But what are some of like the top tips you would tell somebody if they're just struggling with getting visibility, they're struggling with building the relationships or putting themselves out there? Like, what are some things that we need to hear today, especially when we think about being in 2025 in a time where, funding's being cut, business feels like it's being put on pause because of how things are being run with the government, and we're not sure how to move forward in those moments when it feels like, our hands are kind of being handcuffed in some ways.
Well, Interestingly, one of the things that I did when the pandemic hit, I was doing a speaking engagement and online, of course. And at the end of the speaking engagement, I said to the audience, who I couldn't really see, I said, look, I know everybody's going through something. I'm willing to put you together and we can talk every week just to give you support.
Mm.
And out of the whole audience, I'm not sure how many people were on it, maybe 25, 30. 8 women emailed me and said, we'd be interested in getting on a Zoom together.
Yeah.
So if you're going, and we, by the way, we did every week we got together throughout the pandemic. We have now cut it. Now we're only doing it once a month. But
Okay.
I give that as an example because by finding out if you listeners are feeling alone, you can do that. Not necessarily, you could do it the way I did it if you're a speaker, or ask your friends. I'd like to put a group together that we could support each other. We're all going through tough times right now. Let's get together and see how we can support each other at
Mm.
whatever interval you want. And those could be people, and hopefully they're people you don't know. So if the one-to-one thing is hard for you, do it as a group or do both. Ideally, do both.
Yeah.
Re- Reach out to people that you haven't spoken to in a while or people that you know are going through things or you don't even know because they probably are. And you could do it individually, and you could also put an informal group that chats with each other on a regular basis, because that is a way we can support each other and really have a safe, trusting conversation.
Mm. So good.
Something I would recommend.
Yeah. I like find if you are feeling lonely, bring and sometimes it's hard to find a group that feels like the right place to go to. Sometimes you can find that really easily, but sometimes it's like putting your like who do you want in your circle? Who do you want to be connected with? Who do you already know that maybe you've met out in the wild at a networking event and you felt really connected with? How do you like pull some of the people that you know can inspire you? And whether it's, a free group that you're creating just for yourself to help bring people together, it actually is making me think of I have a side business, a side hustle besides my regular business called World Changemaker that I started probably about 5 or 6 years ago now with 2 colleagues. And we were hosting strategy retreats for entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their business. And that's been, we kind of put it on hold for the moment, but we were thinking like, how do we keep World Changemaker going in this season where, all 3 of our businesses are pretty busy and our lives have a lot going on and we weren't able to devote as much time to it. But we put together a co-working group. We get together once a week on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock and we co-work together, and we're slowly building the community through personal relationships and people that we talk to who are looking for a safe space where they can just kind of come, put their head down, tell people what they're doing and get, through that. And our long-term vision, like we'd love to expand that. Right now, though, it's what we all need, just a safe space to kind of show up and get stuff done and have somebody who is going through the trenches with us. And so I love that idea of just like creating a space where it doesn't have to be monetized. It can be monetized at some point if it wants to be, but in this moment, you can just have those people that, see you and and see you for who you are and what you're working on and want to support and cheer you on in those moments.
I love that. I think that's great. And we need you to bring world change makers back. We need to change the world together.
Yeah, we are definitely, it's not gone. It's just on a slower scale at the moment. Those seasons of life.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I do know that
Yeah.
very well.
So as we start to wrap up our conversation today, I'm curious, like what's coming up for you? What's like the next big things that you're focusing on, and like what do you want to have happen, say, in the next 6 months to a year for you and your business and the things that you're up to?
What I want to happen is really continue to support women through training direct on my website, which I'm going to be creating workshops that are short to the point because I want to reach young women too. I'm very concerned about young women
Yeah.
in these times. I'm concerned about all women, but young women, especially in this age, of AI, cell phones. We keep hearing about they're having trouble getting jobs, or they got a job, but they don't like the way it's going because they have in their heads, this is the way that a career works.
Hmm.
And I want to really support them. So I'll be doing some special workshops for them. I also have a new book coming out called Circles of Collaboration, which will be out the first week in June, and it'll be available actually on Amazon and Barnes and Noble to advance. You can order in advance, and then it'll be available about 2 weeks later. So that talks about that whole circles concept. So I want the two focus areas for me is really showing women that you can have a vision and you should. Here's how you identify your vision, which is hard for a lot of people. So I do have a process for that. And then to have your own circles that will support you to make that vision a reality. So those are the things that I'm doing that are important for me to help other women grow. And I'm very concerned about women. I've always been concerned about today. I'm more concerned than ever.
Yeah. You made me just think, and I kind of forgot about it until you were just talking right then. Before the pandemic, I used to have a meetup group. Well, I just actually canceled the meetup group probably a month ago because it's been kind of on hiatus since the pandemic hit. But I was meeting locally, doing like a women's book club at a winery in Temecula, California. Every 2 months, we were getting together and discussing a book and having a glass of wine and a charcuterie board at the winery, and it was just a lot of fun. But I was doing the book club, and then I was also doing something called business and leadership circles. And I forgot that I used that word like 6, 7 years ago when I put that group together. And it's something that I haven't done obviously since the pandemic, since we weren't able to meet in person any longer. But there's something about like that the word circle and like bringing women together. It almost brings like this inner child piece for me, like when you were just talking about it, and when I was reflecting on it, like when we're little girls, like I don't know, I'm thinking like Ring Around the Rosie. We would get in a circle and we would like sit down and we'd braid each other's hair. We'd have girlfriend talk, and it might be two or three of us just kind of in that little circle sitting Indian style together. And we lose some of that as we mature and get busy with lives and careers and children and grandchildren and all those different pieces. There's
I
something so
know.
special though when like you think about like how we originally started like as toddlers and little girls, and we kind of bring that back now in our careers and in our businesses.
That's well said. And circles, women in circles goes way back to caveman times when the women met in a circle to figure out how they were going to feed their children when their husbands or their partners, let's say their male partners, were out there for 3 days looking for a bear. In the meantime, they needed to feed them. I
Yeah.
mean, it goes way back. You think of sewing circles. You think I'm actually in the Circles of Collaboration book. We do talk. I do write about the historical significance of circles. You think of Native Americans and talking circles,
Yeah.
but I mean, circles are a very powerful gathering point for women.
And one of my favorite childhood memories is sitting around a campfire sharing stories. It wasn't always just with women. It was usually like family when I did it. But like there's something special about just sitting around a campfire in a circle and sharing memories and sharing stories and making up stories by the campfire, little ghost stories or things that we used to do. And there's so many special memories that come in that moment.
Yeah, the one thing I kind of would conclude with this is what we have to realize is no one really can succeed alone. No
Yeah.
one ever has.
No.
And yet, often we as women go out there alone trying to do so much, and we have so much on our shoulders. But when we have a circle of people around us, women and some men too, um, that's when we can really make our dream come true, whatever our goal is. So circles are a magical thing.
Yeah.
And if anyone listening does not have that circle, reach out, create that circle. And if you have a circle, start using that circle to collaborate, to work together, to support each other and listen to each other.
Yeah. I don't think I would be the woman I am today if it wasn't for the amazing circles that I've been able to build around me. And I'm so thankful for those relationships and those friendships. And, some of them are reasons, seasons, some of those are friendships for a lifetime. And there's just so much beauty when you can bring the right people around you and connect. And I try to do a lot of things alone, right? I'm a solopreneur for the most part. I have a virtual assistant, but I collaborate with people who do similar work with me, and like we brainstorm off of each other. I have like my best friends who, aren't necessarily entrepreneurs, and we just get together and talk about raising kids and families and barbecue together on the weekends. And like those are the people that I need in my day-to-day life because it's easy to be lonely. It's easy to be alone and think like I got this, I can just do it myself. I can be hard-headed. Like there's been plenty of times in my life where I'm the first person that will help everybody else. But then when I'm struggling, I never ask for help or I don't, reach out and say, "Hey, I'm struggling here." And I've learned, I would say probably the past like 5 to 7 years, I've really learned to be like, "Hey, I need help," or I need someone to talk to. I need to like verbalize what's going on in my head and really get this out there. And some of it's been through therapy, having an amazing therapist. I'm a big advocate that it's okay to like go to therapy and like normalize that those conversations need to happen. But then also just having a best friend that you're like, "Hey, can we get together for coffee?" Or a group of girlfriends where we, let's get together once a month or once a quarter for like a Sunday brunch or
Yeah.
get friends together for barbecues. Like I think there's something so powerful that I know I thrive off of. And if I pull away from those things in those seasons where life is hard, I notice I struggle even more. Like lean
Mhm.
into those circles, lean into those friendships, and find the people. If you don't have the people, find them. They're out there. There's somebody who is lonely just like you.
That's so
Like,
true.
this is so good. I kind of want to ask more questions and keep the conversation going, but we're going to hit pause at this point, and I want to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions so people can get to know a little bit more about you. So, if I could buy you a plane ticket and send you anywhere in the world today, where would you go and why?
Okay, I would go to Amsterdam.
Okay.
I would get on one of those river boats that they have that go down the rivers, and I would visit all the places along the river, and where the boat stops and where not, and just relax because I think right now, calm. I need calm.
That sounds amazing, especially in the season of life I'm in at this moment. Like, I would love to be on a riverboat with no responsibilities for momming and schedules and graduation promotions and all the things that are happening. So that sounds amazing. Let's book a ticket. Let's go.
Okay.
Um, on a typical day, when you can't go to Amsterdam and float down the river, how does Leslie like to reflect, reset, and recharge? Like, what do you do when you need to like give yourself a moment and like get your mind right again?
Well, I do meditate. That's one of the things, and it's really more about just stopping, pausing, and breathing. I just and put my favorite classical music on, and I take a few moments to do that. And that kind of gives me a reboot that I feel, okay, I'm back to normal. I'm calm. I can now slowly get started again with my day. And whatever was upsetting me or keeping me from writing what I feel comes back,
Mm,
ready to go again.
I love that. And what does a typical unwind at the end of your day look like? Are you binge watching something on TV? Are you reading a book? Like, what is some of the things you like to do in the evening to kind of settle back in to end the day?
Uh, Actually cook.
Yeah.
I like to close my office door because I do work at home. I have my office here and prepare a meal. And it's going to be an easy meal because I don't want to take too much time doing it. But it does relax me to just get things all organized and make something good and sometimes listen to the news while I'm doing it, sometimes not. Um, but that to me is a complete change, cooking something
Yeah.
and eating something healthy.
I'm with you on that one. I love me a home cooked meal. And my last question for you, in theme of the podcast, Attract and Stand Out, what does it mean to you to attract and stand out?
Wow, great question. I should have thought about that in advance. Attract and stand out. Wow. To me, it's being authentically me wherever I am, and also being courageous often by stepping out of my comfort zone. And I think that when I do that, um, it changes my life, sometimes in tiny ways and sometimes in bigger ways. But it has to do with also getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So putting myself in uncomfortable situations.
Mm. Yeah, doing those hard things that we sometimes don't want to do or that feel out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Leslie, this has been such an honor to have you on the podcast. Thank you for taking time to share your story with us and share all the amazing things that you're up to. I know people are going to want to connect with you and learn more about you, and they're definitely going to want to go grab your book. Where do we go? How do we find you?
Okay, well, you can go on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn. Uh, Leslie Grossman. I think it might be Leslie Grossman Leadership. There's not a lot of us up there, but I'm not the comedian Leslie Grossman.
Oh,
Or
there could be. We could do a stand-up comedy act.
good. Or email me directly, Leslie, Leslie, at lesliegrossmanleadership.com. I'm not on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and that's Leslie Grossman Vision, and that's my website also, lesliegrossmanvision.com.
Okay, perfect. I will make sure those are dropped down below in the show notes as well so that people can find you easily. And that's a wrap, everybody, for another amazing episode of the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I thank you, Leslie, so much for sharing your
Thank
knowledge and
you.
inspiring women to really find their circle and collaborate and do amazing things together because you do not have to do it alone. If you are new here listening to the podcast, please hit follow or subscribe. Leave a review. Your feedback and your thoughts help get more people involved in the podcast and help people know that we're doing amazing things in the world. And I love to help support women to get spotlighted. And that's it. We'll see you next time for another amazing episode of the Attract and Stand Out podcast. And as always, remember, I believe in you. You're allowed to stand out. You're allowed to shine. You're allowed to be you. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.